Hi, welcome to T-Minus Retirement, the podcast where we help launch your retirement into orbit. I'm Jay Cole.
And I'm Dustin Watts.
So we get the question a lot when we're working with clients or even potential clients trying to create a plan. And usually it's, can I retire now?
Or do they have enough to retire?
Or do they have enough?
Or how much do I need to retire?
Right, exactly. And so each age that we get is different. You know, we've gotten some cases where it's early 50s and they want to retire.
Right.
We've gotten some that are actually pushing 70. But we wanted to do a case study just showing a specific client to see if they wanted to retire right now, would they be able to be successful in doing so?
And ultimately, our answer always falls back to the financial plan and, you know, what some of the outcomes are and what some of the scenarios are. So we wanted to share that with you today with a live example.
Yeah.
All right, so we're in the financial plan. Wanted to go through a little bit of who we're looking at today. This is Tom and Tammy Temecula. They're age 60. Let's say, you know, they work for a local employer. Maybe it's Abbott. I wanted to run you through a couple things here of what their net worth looks like. So Tom and Tammy are 60. Like I mentioned, they have a total net worth of 2.2, just under 2.3 million. And that consists of some bank assets, you know, checking and saving. Looks like they got a little bit on a credit card here that hopefully they pay off every month. Some different investment accounts. So Tom looks like he has a current 401k with a little over 475,000 in it. An old 401k of around 75,000. Tammy has about 350,000 in her 401k. And they have a nice trust account that is not a retirement account with 651,000. So a good amount of investable assets, a little over 1.5 million. Looks like they have a loan, which is their current mortgage. If you watch some of our other videos, we went into this a little bit. This mortgage looks like they have a interest rate of 3.5%.
They'll never get that again.
No, we're probably not seeing that too much anytime in the near future. So their payment on that mortgage is $1,684. That's principal and interest. That doesn't include property tax or insurance. So their property, a very common Temecula house, you know, it's $900,000. Just for purposes of the example, and just so you get an understanding, property tax, insurance, and maintenance are all going to be included in this line item here of where, you know, how we account for expenses. And insurance, so they do have some insurance. You're going to see zero here because it's not included in their net worth because they have, you know, disability policies, life insurance, so term life insurance, which does not have a cash value. Of course, they have homeowners in an umbrella policy, which, you know, adds some additional liability coverage over and above. So we have a decent snapshot of what Tom and Tammy look like. Let's jump over into what their income is so you get an idea of that. So Tom makes $140,000, Tammy makes about $90,000. These are some future income down the road, Social Security, and we've taken this from a Social Security statement. We can also look at what they're saving currently. So Tom is contributing 12% to his 401k, while Tammy is contributing 10%. If you remember, they have that trust brokerage account, but they're not making any current contributions to it. We can also look at what their expenses are. So current living expenses are $8,000. Now, it's important to understand that these living expenses are in addition to property tax, the mortgage, insurance, those other
maintenance costs,
any term policies that you had seen on there. That would be in addition. So $96,000 of living expenses, housing, insurance is all going to be on top of that. And you'll see a little bit more of that in the future. But ultimately, we build out this plan. We take a lot of information from people and we say, okay, we have a good idea of what your net worth is. We see what your assets are and what you're spending. Now, what do you want to do? What are your goals in retirement? And that's really one of the most important components because, everything that you have and that you're spending all, go towards your goals and what the ultimate outcome is.
Yeah, like if you want to take a look down here, they've got a joint vacation goal here that they want to have about $24,000 a year to travel. That kind of sounds high, but maybe they want to do big luxury cruises or whatnot.
Around the world.
Another goal might be they always want to have at least $83,000 just in their checking or savings account, just to kind of have as a cushion. So that's another goal that we need to account for too. Other goals we might encounter might be funding a grandchild's college or
paying for a wedding.
Paying for a wedding, that's a very common one.
Probably the next most common one is either doing a home improvement or even potentially moving to another state or to another home, their retirement dream home. That's all things that would be included in the goals section if that is included in a plan.
And so right now, they're both 60. Their current goal is they want to retire now at 60. So we have that in here. Like Dustin had said, we're factoring in their monthly retirement expenses. And we're going to keep it about the same. And on top of that's going to be the housing costs and maintenance and whatnot. We also like to factor in roughly what their healthcare cost is going to be each year. And especially when they're 60, one thing that they need to think about is health insurance from 60 to 65. So it might be a little bit more in those earlier years, but we like to factor in average healthcare costs. And then with all of our plans too, with the last 2 years of the plan life, we like to factor in long-term care living costs.
Right.
More and more people are living longer these days. They're not really selling long-term care policies that much anymore.
Not that are affordable.
No.
And if you have one currently, you've probably gotten a letter that your premium's going up.
So we factor that in there as well. One note, when we create these plans, we create it all the way out till age 90. That's about the average. In some cases, we can do more, if the client has longevity in their life. But for the purposes of this plan, we're factoring it out to 90.
The only other point I would add, Jay, is these figures that you see here are in today's dollars. So everything is inflation adjusted. So of course, traveling goals. So again, just to expand a little bit on this travel goal starts when Tom retires. It goes for 10 years and it's once every year. So $24,000 a year. And of course, in 10 years, $24,000 is not going to get you quite as far. So we have a general inflation figure built into that of 2%. But healthcare costs, they go up a lot higher than just the average inflation, as we all know. So healthcare inflation is actually at 5%. So we have some different amounts going on here. And not to get too in the weeds with this, but where we pull these figures from are some national averages. And I always encourage clients, if they have more healthcare needs, we can discuss that and increase these amounts as needed. But let's just say Tom and Tammy are, in relatively good health. They're just kind of your average 60-year-olds. They don't plan on needing anything extra. So we're going to account for these figures here. So everything that we've put into the plan so far is going to give us an output that we're going to look at. So we're going to take the net worth, the income, the expenses, the goals that they want to set up. The program is going to run an analysis and say, based upon all this information, what is our probability of meeting all of our goals till age 90, just like you had mentioned, the end of the plan. And so let's look at that. So we head over to the retirement analysis.
Well, that's not good.
And what it's saying is 29% of the time you would be able to do that. Now, I know Jay is probably like myself. That is not enough confidence to tell Tom and Tammy, yes, go ahead, continue your lifestyle as you are, currently, and go ahead and retire now. That wouldn't be a wise decision. But this is a really good planning opportunity because you're going to see these two separate numbers and these two columns down a little bit further. And at this point, what we can do is say, what are things that we can change in the plan to make our probability of success somewhere that gives us confidence to say we're not going to outlast the funds that we have. We can, not be worried about running out of money and do the things that we want to do. So there's a couple inputs that we can change, right? We could change when do we retire? We can change our expenses. We can change, what do we do in retirement? And we can look at some of these scenarios now.
Yeah. So, the first one, they both want to retire at 60. Well, what if we advise that they just push it out 2 more years and retire at 62?
Yeah.
That gives 2 more years of working income, 2 more years of saving in their 401ks and possibly market growth.
Yeah.
So if we do that,
2 more years of employer contributions to those 401ks, as we've discussed in old videos.
Well, look at this. A 2-year difference, that probability percentage goes up drastically.
Right.
57%. That's still, we don't feel comfortable with that number, but we're getting in the right track.
We're headed in the right direction.
Another one might be, well, let's say, you know what? Instead of 62, why not 65? Just 5 more years.
And remember, Tom and Tammy, they like their jobs.
They do. They
wanted to see, hey, what does it look like? And behind the scenes, there's a lot of stuff going on. So we had mentioned there's going to be more retirement contributions. There's going to be more market growth, but there's also less years that you're having to draw on your assets. Mm-hmm. There's less years that you're having to fund potentially healthcare costs yourself. So there's a lot behind the scenes that is taking place that, we can get into the cash flows that you're not going to see quite here.
And you can see here at 65, well, that probability really jumps up to 83%.
Right.
Usually we like to see 80% and above. There's other things we can do as well. For example, we currently have it that they want to take Social Security as early as possible. So that's 62. Well, if we have them delay it until their full retirement age, which would be 67.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that goes up as well because they've delayed on taking those benefits and allowed time for the benefits to get to what it actually should be.
Do you think we should head over real quick before we do a couple more changes? Because we get this all the time and look at Social Security.
Yeah.
We can actually do an analysis and say, hey, what does... we get the question all the time. I should take it at 62. Yes, I'm going to take a reduced amount, but I'm going to get all these extra years of payments. And I understand, the thinking behind that, but there's also some math behind it that says, even in this example, if Tom and Tammy take Social Security at full retirement age at 67 versus 62, if they live a full life, they're going to get almost $545,000 more over their life. I don't know about you, Jay, but I think that's probably worth delaying it a couple extra years.
Oh, absolutely. And so what's neat about this program is it tells you the break-even point. So if you were to take it at 62, you can see here, your benefits obviously are much lower, and you get a small percentage of increase just based off the low benefits. Well, if you take it at 67, at a certain point, there's going to be a break-even. And in this case here, I want to say it's at 76.
Yeah.
So if you take it at 67 and you live until 76, well, from then on, you're netting more money than if you were just to take it at 62. So you can see here at 76, they would have taken $943,000 cumulatively, versus at 62, they would have taken only $937,000. And you can see as it goes up each year, well, they're in the money if they had waited until 67.
Well, and we mentioned people are living longer. There's plenty of people living to 90. I mean, you can see here the difference. And real quick, too, to obtain maximum Social Security in Tom and Tammy's case, if they waited till 70, they would get an additional increase because you don't have to take it at full retirement age. You can wait and get 8% increase.
That's a huge difference.
So that's 878,000 more for, from 62 versus 70. And it's 333,000 approximately by waiting 3 extra years. We can, again, look at what that break-even point is. So if Tom and Tammy wait till 70, as long as they live past age 80, that was the optimal decision to make long-term if you want to look at it, on a pure dollars and cents way. But let's head back to the analysis and let's just tweak a couple more things to see, can we get, our probability a little bit higher than 88. 88 is good. I wouldn't say that's off the table, but if we're going to work 5 more years, let's be serious about those last 5 years of retirement. And let's say, hey, Tom is currently contributing 12% to his 401k. That is not the max. So let's say, hey, we're going to bump that up to the maximum amount, at least for Tom. And we're going to see how that changes the numbers. So another percent increase in probability, again, because it's more contributions going into the 401k, more market growth for a longer period of time, employer match, that also increases. So we're right at 80, 89. Let's see, can we get it to 90? Would be a good question. Let's play out that scenario that we just talked about on Social Security. What if Tom and Tammy take it at 70? We'll recalculate those numbers.
There you go.
There we go. We get to 90% probability of success by delaying our retirement by 5 years, by maximizing our 401k contributions, at least for Tom, during that last 5-year period, by optimizing Social Security. All of that gives us a very healthy probability of success. And it also does one thing that I didn't mention. It opens up some additional opportunities because there are opportunities from retirement age until 70 or maybe even 73 or 75 when they have required distributions for Roth conversions.
I was going to say the question would be, well, how do I live if I don't have income from 65 until 70, if I don't have Social Security?
Yeah.
And, well, they have the trust account that they can take money from. That's good. But effectively, their tax bracket would be very low once they retire because they have no W-2 income coming in. They're just going to be living off of dividends and maybe some capital gains.
No, that's a great point. So we can actually look at that. Let's fast forward here on this sheet, and we can say, actually, we'll go to when they're the first year of retirement. They have no money coming in. Total inflows are 0. Expenses, total expenses, are going to be the goals plus the living expenses and healthcare. And what it's saying is we have a $188,000 deficit that essentially we're going to be funding from our accounts. And we have the trust account, we have different 401ks that we can pull from for a short period of time. But to Jay's point, we have an opportunity here where you're in a very low tax bracket, or where Tom and Tammy are in a very low tax bracket. And so things that they can do potentially could be like a Roth conversion. And you can see here, we can fill up some brackets with taking money out of the 401k, which is all pre-tax, convert it to Roth, pay a little bit of tax, but remember, they're in a low tax bracket. So that would be a great time potentially to do Roth conversions. We need to keep some things in mind, like the Medicare adjustment. We mentioned that in some previous videos, but this opens up additional planning opportunities for Tom and Tammy to get some tax-free money for down the road. And it's going to be a year-by-year case, but it's an opportunity.
And plus, it lowers their RMDs as well, because if you remember going back to where when you look at their assets, the majority of it is pre-tax 401k money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and RMDs are huge. If all of your money is pre-tax, sometimes you don't want to be forced by the government to take a certain amount of money. So this is a way to help combat that a little bit.
And that might even put you above to a higher tax bracket than if you were to do a conversion now at 12% or even 22%.
Yeah. No, it's just really looking at the whole picture. But, and I want to point one more thing out, before we close down the case here of why some of this is so successful. And it has to do with the long-term withdrawal rate. Let's get over here. There we go. Sometimes there's too many buttons on here. So the long-term withdrawal rate of your portfolio is very important, okay? And, there's the age-old 4% rule, and there's a lot of discussion on, is that too much, too little? That's probably a discussion for another time, but what does this show here? It shows that, yes, in the first couple of years, if Tom and Tammy take Social Security at 70, their withdrawal rate's a little higher. It's not terribly high. It's, in the 6%. But let's look at what a nice, average withdrawal rate. Look at some of these years. 2, 3, we're at that 4%.
That's the benefit of having
4.5%.
Having the additional Social Security.
Yeah, you have a big Social Security amount come in, at 70, so you see that drop. I would be willing to bet if you averaged this whole withdrawal rate out, it'd probably be slightly under 4%. Mm-hmm. And that is a big key to success is, having that money invested and taking out portions of it each year. And yes, there's going to be market fluctuation, and some years it might feel like you're taking more than others. But when you take a step back and look at the big picture, you're taking a nice average balance. It's giving you plenty of wiggle room for things that come up down the road. There's a lot of unknowns, but what is great about having a plan like this is you can come back to it when things change and update it and play out different scenarios to make sure you're going to stay on track.
And it's good to know, too, that these strategies or these recommendations for this test client here, it might not work for someone else. Everyone's situation is different.
Yeah.
It might be that they do have to retire because of a medical reason or just the drive is too long or whatever the case is. And so there are other ways to kind of help get this percentage number up as well. If it's down at 29 or 30%, maybe cutting short their vacation goals, or maybe having it only for 3 years,
or trimming the budget
the budget. Yeah, that's very common.
Cancel some subscriptions.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways to help prepare for retirement, and even prepare if you want to retire, essentially now, or at least just to be successful when you do retire.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. We hope that you found some great value in this. If you find yourself in a similar situation and would like a plan like we showed today, please reach out to us. But please do like and subscribe. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.
Take care.
Take care.